PTSD from the first business.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to make that mistake and spend 5 years on the wrong idea again. So I was like, I'm going to go talk to like 200 facility managers and maintenance managers. And so I was like, okay, screw this. I'm just going to cold call. And so I was horrible at it. Just picked up the phone. I was like, oh, please talk to me. Like I did not know how to do sales appropriately. But talked to close to 200 maintenance managers, facility managers, learned everything about them. What are their pains? What are their problems? Where do they go for information? What's their favorite cuss words? Everything. Like I needed to, in essence, become like a maintenance manager.
Yeah.
And I didn't have 10 years to actually do the job. So I talked to a ton of them, bought a whole bunch of books, just learned every single thing I can. Well, so one of the greatest points in my life was when I raised the Series A. I walked in and wired my dad $9 million. Got to go call him and say, hey, go check your bank account.
Yeah, there you go.
Is it there? He's like, yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Startup Ignition Podcast.
Episode number 10.
Number 10. We've done this 10 times now, which is actually ridiculous that people want to watch us 10 times in a row, but we'll take it. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm Tyler, and this is John.
Yep.
And we are your co-hosts. But today we have a special guest. We have Bryan. We are so happy to have him. And I have a little bio for you, Bryan, so I'm going to read it real quick here so everybody knows who you are, but you need no introduction. So Bryan is the founder and CEO of Limble CMMS.
Bryan Christiansen.
Bryan Christiansen, sorry. We'll have to put the last name in there. But Bryan, you are a self-taught full stack developer.
That's correct.
You have a coding background, right?
Yes.
Yes. And you are now turned marketer entrepreneur. You've forced into the CEO role.
Now I'm a CEO.
Yeah, now
so
you
now
are
I don't code. Now I don't market. Now I don't do any of that.
When's the last time you got hands on a keyboard to actually code some lines?
For the company or for myself?
For yourself.
Probably a few months ago.
Okay. So
How about
it's been
for
a
the
little
company?
3-4 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
So you've kind of missed this heightened AI wave.
Well, that's why I was coding for myself.
You were just trying to do that?
Yeah, I needed to figure out, I needed to mess around with ChatGPT's API.
Yeah.
Like actually really learn the tech and be able to understand it so that as I'm making decisions as a CEO, I still understand the tech.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell everybody and probably botch this pretty bad, even though I'm very familiar with Limble CMMS and what you guys do, but it is a maintenance software management platform for...
Well, just what's the CMMS acronym stand for?
Computerized Maintenance Management Software or System.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a system that allows you to track everything you own, all the parts that you may need to fix it, and who's going to fix it.
Yeah.
And you guys have grown to thousands of customers.
Yeah, 3,400, 3,500.
3,500,
So
wow.
CMMS is an entire category
Of software.
and there's lots of competitors.
200, 300.
Yeah, only a few.
Only a few.
And somehow you rose to the top.
A lot of hard work, a lot of great mentors.
We're really going to dive into that somehow today, okay? And so, but you have clients like McDonald's and DHL and Pepsi and Nike and crazy huge name brands.
Yep. And if you're in Utah, Powder Mountain and Washoe Peaks, all sorts of great locals as well.
Yeah.
But that's not your biggest accomplishment. You're also a father of 3 children.
That's right.
Right. And I just recently found this out when I tasked AI to do some background on you and create a bio. You're a Forbes writer. Is that a thing?
Yes.
Yeah, technically, I guess. But I don't really contribute very much at all.
A lot of notables in Utah become Forbes writers because Forbes loves the Utah environment.
When ChatGPT came back with that, I was like, I didn't know Bryan was a Forbes writer, but there we go. Here we are. But before we get into the episode, we always do this. I don't know if you've ever watched any of our podcast episodes. I completely don't blame you if you have not, okay? But we always do like an icebreaker or like a little game before we get into your story, your background, and just to kind of set the mood and ease into it and have like a lighthearted conversation. So the icebreaker that we're going to do is a rapid fire this or that. Is that okay? So I'm going to give you 2 things and you tell me which one you like better or which one you don't, or which one's worse or better. Okay. So here we go. Energy drink or coffee?
Coffee.
Wow.
Better,
I like
better.
it. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl, 100%.
Really?
I am an early bird now, but that's because of the 3 children.
So you would,
and multi-time zones where I have to wake up for.
So
East
you'd
Coasters.
rather be up later than getting up earlier.
Some of the best things is staying up till 2, 3 a.m. Just coding.
I'm a sleep guy. I need my sleep. Okay. Equity or salary?
Equity, 1 billion percent.
A billion percent. Oh, yeah.
For the first long time, I didn't take a salary at all.
Really?
And even now, I don't take a big salary.
Really?
Rather hire another AE.
Yeah.
So equity.
Okay. Home or office work?
That's a hard one.
Is it?
We're fully remote, so I want to say home, but there's
Wait, Limble's
nuance.
fully remote.
Yeah, we're gonna let's explore that later. Yeah,
fully
Wow.
remote, but there's nuances there. As we get bigger, it gets a lot harder, and there's different roles are way better in office. Certain roles are way
That's
better
honestly
remote.
shocking to me. I feel like the trend is coming back. The pendulum's swinging the other way to go back to
To the
office.
office for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love personally remote. I absolutely love working at home. My kids are there, all of that. Love it to death. But it's some type of roles, it doesn't set them up for as much success as in office.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking personally, love remote. But when I'm looking what's best for some employees.
So your answer on the icebreaker would be you as a worker remote.
Yes, me as a worker remote.
But for the health of the overall company, limited.
Depends.
Yeah, it depends.
It depends on the role.
Okay, cool.
And that's consistent with the data.
Right.
Yep.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Summer. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos?
Musk.
Musk.
Yeah.
And it gets a little political, but that's okay. All right, here we go. Stealth mode or public launch? Like you coming out with a big bang, or are you keeping something secret and close?
I normally don't talk. This is something that I'm changing over time. Where like at this beginning, especially with Limble, like I remember like no one knew us, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like we're just building.
Yeah.
And so we've always kind of been more quieter. But now that we're bigger and we're known and whatnot, like when we release new products, it's got to be like big.
Splashy.
But
Yeah.
now it's like okay, strategically, it makes a lot more sense to be loud.
Yeah. So smaller the company, probably more stealthy. Bigger the company, probably more splashy and public launchy.
Well, I wouldn't say that's the right strategy. It's just more of what I did, and what I'm just not naturally the type of person that's
Be
like
loud,
yelling from the rooftops.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better at that because later on it is helpful.
Yeah.
But if I was a different person at the beginning, I may have been a lot more loud.
Yeah.
But also, this one comment, I haven't commented on the others because we've done these questions a little bit in the past. But the winning on the field of competition speaks louder than anything.
No,
Yep, 100%.
So, okay, we got 2 more. Here we go. City life or country life?
50-50 split.
Yeah, it's suburban life.
Well, so I love the city, but if I'm there too long, I go crazy. Like I'm in New York a lot lately.
Yeah.
And when I'm there for longer than like 2 weeks, I'm like, I need my mountains.
Yeah.
I need to come back to Utah. But then when I'm in Utah too long, it's like I need my city. So it's kind of a weird.
So you're
weird
balanced.
split.
Okay. Yeah. Bootstrapped or VC funded?
Bootstrapped.
Bootstrapped. I like it. You're a man of bootstrapping. Okay, cool. I'm glad that we recovered on that icebreaker. So I am very sorry. AI failed me just recently on my agenda making and prepping. But okay, let's get into some of the things that you wanted to talk about. Because I know
I think we should just start with Bryan. I want Bryan to kind of where he grew up, what got him into entrepreneurship, and
so
and kind of your pre-story before meeting me.
Yeah. So I'm incredibly blessed to have the dad that I have. Like from age 3, he was pounding into my head, entrepreneurship.
Oh, I can relate.
So, you most definitely can relate. And he was always telling me, don't be an attorney. He's an attorney. Don't be an attorney. Be an entrepreneur. You can cause a lot more impact, benefit your life a lot more, benefit other people's lives a lot more. And so from an early age, he was always pushing me that way.
As a lawyer, he kind of focused on technology and entrepreneurship though, right?
Yeah. Software licensing was one of his main
So
areas.
because of that, were you around software and computers and tech, or was he pushing that on you, or was he encouraging you?
Yeah. So like at age 10, he tried to get someone to teach me how to code, tried to get someone to teach me how to code. I didn't learn at that point. I had to like self-teach myself later on. But back, like he was always trying to get me into tech. I played a lot of video games when the computer broke. He was like, "Well, you need to fix it."
How old are you? How old are you?
Today?
Yeah.
40. Just turned 40 actually.
Really?
Yeah.
So wow, I didn't know that.
Wow.
A big
Happy
40.
40th.
Thank you.
So you got a little halo in your day.
So I was more of a PC.
Oh, a PC guy. Okay, so
So
Diablo or StarCraft.
Diablo, StarCraft, Counter-Strike, World of Warcraft, EverQuest. EverQuest is actually the thing that really solidified entrepreneurship for me, believe it or not. So in high school, I was playing that game and I was really good at it. I was making a lot of like in-game currency. And then I found on PayPal, you could sell it for real life money. And
Wait, the in-game currency?
The in-game currency.
Wow.
This was like 25 years ago.
They would allow player-to-player transfers?
No, you could just give someone the gold. They call it platinum in the game. But then what I would do is on PayPal, it's like, okay, first you send me $100 before I give you the platinum.
I gift it to you. Yeah.
And so I'm like gifting it in the game, but they're giving me real life money for it.
So they do a player-to-player transfer inside the game to another player.
Yeah, so you can give each other stuff
So
inside.
you heard it here first. Platinum was Bitcoin before Bitcoin was, right?
Yeah, kind of. It was a digital currency, and that's actually part of the story. So I started making a little bit of money, and so I played the game more, started making a lot of money, got up to like 12 grand or something. Wow. My friend got work release for going to working at Burger King, and I was like, wait a second. Like, if he doesn't have to go to school for that, and he's making money and I'm making money. So I did a whole write-up about trading digital currencies, went into work release, and just plopped it down, and they gave it to me. They had no idea I was playing video games. And that's when I really learned it's like, okay, you can if you find a way to give value to people and collect some of it, which is in essence what a business is, then you can do a lot of really cool things. Right. And so I didn't have to do half of my senior year because I was playing video games.
That's awesome.
Doing my first real business.
Where did you? So that's high school. Where'd you go to college?
I went to UVU, although I didn't finish in UVU.
So that's a common thing amongst entrepreneurs that come on this podcast.
Yeah.
But so you went to UVU, and where did the idea for Limble CMMS come from? It was your father, you, or both, or what?
So, I mean, neither of us actually had the idea.
Are we jumping a lot in your timeline here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Going to Limble?
No. Yeah. How old were you when you first met me?
Gosh.
How did you guys meet?
30, maybe. It was about 10.
Okay,
10
so let's go ahead. Tell us more about from high school till 30.
Yeah. So high school. I graduated high school barely. I was too busy playing that video game. I went to college, worked on and off for probably 9 years or something, or for about like 6 years. Then started my first real startup, which was a pharmacy compliance software. That failed miserably. Did it all the wrong way. Only really talked to one person for validation. It was one of the co-founders. He was a pharmacist. So he's like, I know exactly what to build. I was like, that makes sense. Yeah. And so I followed everything.
One data point.
Yeah, one data point.
But again,
not the right way to do it.
You were the developer or the technical co-founder of that pharmacy.
So my dad was involved with that one too. And he came to me and was like, we have this idea. Can you code it? And I was like, I have no idea how to code, but I'll learn. And so that project gave me the first real thing to try and figure out how to code. And then I spent the next like 5 years trying to get that startup going. But I was only the technical co-founder. My other co-founders were doing like 1 hour a week, which that, as you all know, that doesn't work.
Part-time for our viewers and listeners. Part-time entrepreneurship doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Everyone needs to be bought in. Everyone needs to be working crazy hours. Everyone needs to be just going hard.
Pushing forward.
Yeah. Going from 0 to 1 is one of the hardest things you can do. And so that failed because of the other partners weren't putting in the same amount of work. We had the wrong idea. It wasn't validated, all of that. And so it got towards the end of that 4 to 5 year period. And I decided, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go figure out the marketing. I'm going to, get us in a conference. We're going to sell this. Like, it's 4 or 5 years of my life. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
Go to the conference. Everything fails miserably.
Yeah. It just flopped.
Yeah. There was no product market fit. We, didn't really know what we were doing. It was a whole bunch of stuff. And so at the end of that, I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And so I came across the book called The Lean Startup.
Yeah.
And this was right before I met you, John, actually. Mm-hmm. And I read it and I was like, oh my God, there's a blueprint. Like I wish I would have found this.
People know this already.
Yeah. Like I didn't have to learn all these lessons, like a customer validation and all of that. And so I was like, okay, I got a blueprint. I don't have an idea. Let's just go around and ask as many people as possible, like, what do you hate about your life?
Yeah.
Like, what sucks?
Problem hunting.
Yeah, basically. I don't want to hear about family. So, like, don't complain about your spouse. It's like, I can't do anything there.
I'm not a marriage counselor.
No. But tell me about work. What frustrations do you have at work? And what is your company struggling with? And I'll never forget the day a friend of a friend introduced me to a maintenance manager at Marriott hotels. And I walk in, shake his hand. Within the first 30 seconds, he's cussing up a storm. He's like, and maybe I shouldn't swear at the podcast, but he's just going off. He's having to replace a $40,000 HVAC. And this is the second time this year. It wasn't budgeted this year. His boss is freaking out. His team won't actually change the filters.
This is a Marriott hotel.
Yeah, this is a Marriott hotel.
Probably a franchisee.
Yeah. I can't remember if they're
a lot of them are franchised.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. But I was like, okay, like you could feel the pain radiating off. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Everyone else was complaining about little things. This person had real stress. Like his life, he was not happy. And so I spent the next 4 or 5 hours just walking through the facility, talking to his techs, trying to understand. It's like, it's changing a filter. That's easy, right? Well, it's not when you have 20 HVACs or even 200 HVACs across 10 hotels, and you have to rely on a technician who doesn't know where the HVAC is or may just not care to do it and just say, I did it, but not actually do it. Yeah. And then they can't find the filter. And honestly, changing a filter is the easier workflow that they have to do. When you look at real maintenance at large manufacturing plants,
huge jobs,
it's extremely complicated, where you can have, 20 different employees working on it with 5 different vendors coming in to rebuild all these crazy stuff, and it's like a 4 to 6 months long projects. Like, holy shit! Maintenance is complicated.
So you walked away from that Marriott meeting with that guy, and you were like, okay, there's something
here. But I had PTSD from the first business, so I was like, screw this. I'm going to go talk to 200 facility managers and maintenance managers, because I'm not going to make that mistake and spend 5 years on the wrong idea again.
Yeah.
And so back then, I was just very much an engineer, and so I was like, okay, screw this. I'm just going to cold call. And so I was horrible at it. Just picked up the phone. I was like, oh, please talk to me. I did not know how to do sales appropriately, but that taught me a lot, which is a different story. And so anyways, talked to close to 200 maintenance managers, facility managers, learned everything about them. What are their pains? What are their problems? Where do they go for information? What's their favorite cuss words? Everything. I needed to, in essence, become a maintenance manager. Yeah. And I didn't have 10 years to actually do the job. So I talked to a ton of them, bought a whole bunch of books, just learned every single thing I can.
And this is totally consistent with lean startup methodologies. As the father of lean startup, Steve Blank, would say, he says, if you can't go up to the whiteboard and tell me the day in the life of your customer, you haven't done enough work.
No, and honestly, some people may think 200 was too many. It's no. Because every single one has so much value.
Again, I like to teach principles on this when you bring them up. So to our viewers and listeners, there's the law of statistics at play here. You can't extrapolate to your complete customer base if you only talk to one person.
Yeah.
If you only talk to 5 people. Matter of fact, the law of statistics basically says until you talk to 20, you can't do any extrapolation. And then if you want to go to a really huge base, you need to get
the bigger the market, the more
80, 100, 200,
more volume.
In order to extrapolate with a plus or minus error rate that you can actually count on. You're basically, lean startup, you become an entrepreneurial scientist, and you have to treat it like a science.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's not even just at the beginning of the business. We still do this today.
No, it's continual customer development.
You always do it. You always go talk to customers. The closer
every feature, every product launch, everything you're doing. Hey, does this work?
They talk about that in a mature company, a mature corporation, but it's needed more than ever at the startup phase. Because if not, it's that old story. If I go from point A to B and I'm only 3 degrees off course, when I'm first starting off, it doesn't feel like I'm off course that much. But if you're 3 degrees off course 5 years later, you're way away from where you should be.
About what Bryan said at the beginning of this podcast, everybody needs to be bought in and pushing forward and going 110%. And if you're doing that down the wrong path, how much time and effort and resources you could waste. That's bad.
That's the whole underlying principles of it. But so that's cool. So you read this and you went out and talked to people. Then when did you stumble into me? And I'm wondering why. And how did it happen?
So I got the idea and I got very much validated. So I decided to start working on it.
Yeah, you couldn't ignore it anymore at this point. You're like, okay.
I mean, there was enough people suffering enough pain, and I knew that I could code this solution. I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to take my big bet, and let's go after this.
Yeah.
And so I met John. You were doing a growth hacking seminar or something like that, if I remember right.
Where was that?
And it was just down the road. It was maybe a podium. No, it couldn't have been a podium. It was somewhere, some tech company around here was putting it on.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to network more because I was by myself. I was starting to get some traction in the company or pretty close to
so you were developing version 1 and you were trying to get it in the door to a couple of these maintenance facilities.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I had some beta customers, if
Yeah.
I remember right.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had any paying customers at that point. I might have had like 1 or 2 paying customers.
Yeah.
It was early days. But I was wanting to network and get more into the tech scene because historically I was always just by myself. And I was like, I need to build relationships.
Yeah, you need a team.
Yeah. And that was the other aspect. And one of the big reasons of doing Startup Ignition, other than the knowledge that you learn from it, is I wanted to surround myself with more entrepreneurs because I had no co-founders at that point.
So Startup Ignition,
other than my dad.
For our viewers and listeners that are first-time listeners, Startup Ignition is a boot camp that we run for entrepreneurs.
So what year is this? When did you come through the boot camp? I can't even remember.
Do you remember the cohort number you were in?
It was 4.
Yeah, you were like, 3,
it was
4,
a
5.
while
He was
ago.
one. We're
It
at
was
like
wild.
55 plus now.
Yeah. It was and this was back when it was like multi-week, if I remember. Like
Oh, wow.
Over at 12, we did 5,
6 weeks?
no,
I thought it was 6 weeks.
Yeah.
it was 2 or 3 nights a week
2 nights a week
for 5 weeks.
Yeah, it was a good amount.
Yeah.
But I remember going there, met one of my.
Because now the program is we jam it all into 3 upfront days and then mentor. Yeah.
Which I mean, maybe I come do one of those sometime.
Yeah, you should. Come back.
Alumni refresher, we call them.
Bring some of their employees.
But what people really enjoy it, and you see some of the new stuff we have. But the bottom line is, and I remember meeting you at the first time. But you thought after meeting me, how did you hear about the boot camp?
I can't remember.
Did I talk about it there or
you
something?
You might have talked about it. And I was like, okay, I'll check that out. And then I remember at that point in time, I was like, well, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do this. If I'm committed.
And I do interviews to people. And I just remember my first interview with you for your application coming in.
Yeah.
And not to make your head big or anything like that, but you just stood out as somebody that kind of a super capable, super smart. And what I said, but also not knowing a lot of stuff you needed to know.
Right.
Yeah.
And from the business side of business and the entrepreneurship side. Does that make sense? Is that fair?
Yeah, there was a lot that I learned from the class.
Yeah.
There was a lot that I used later on when I raised money.
But that's the combustible part. I said, this guy's going to be scary when he gets the full set of knowledge he needs. And history has proven it out. So
we've done good.
So like, what did you get out of the boot camp?
The knowledge was really great, but I also met one of my co-founders there. So like, and he's a co-founder. Blood, sweat, and tears. Without him, the company would not exist.
Yeah.
But
let's back up before you met him. I want to tell some of the story before then. Because that's a great story. Because I remember before. You through the program, you met another co-founder that I had heavily mentored, and he had been through 2 or 3 tough situations with co-founders. Right. But before that, even I remember also going to many mentoring sessions. Well, a few mentoring sessions with you and your father alone. I don't know if you remember that. So we would go to restaurants and stuff and talk, and that was interesting. So what is the dynamic between you and your father with Limble?
So one of the greatest points in my life was when I raised the Series A. I walked in and wired my dad $9 million. Got to go call him and say, hey, go check your bank account.
There you go.
Is it there? He's like, it's
Look
there.
what you've done for him. But back then, when it was you and your dad and we were mentoring, what were the roles and how were you doing it?
So he was very, very supportive, giving me like an office space, giving me any support I needed, any advice. He wasn't in the business like
operationally
doing any operations. He gave
so you were basically CEO and CTO.
Yeah. All the work in the business I just did myself until I brought on Miguel, which is the person I met in the boot up. Now, my dad also because he was paying my main salary. So he was giving financial.
Okay.
He was, but I also had to work the original job. So it was like 4 to 6 hours on the original job.
He let you explore this other opportunity.
In essence, yes. And like without him, I wouldn't be able to do it.
And you identified the opportunity.
Yes.
You were the one that identified. So
yes.
Okay. So then what I just want to bring out from this is just let everybody know, just on the dynamic too, that when there's a technical person that can also be a strong CEO, that's a super good combination. By the way, anybody out there, if you're the CEO CTO combination and you're like Bryan, come visit with us.
Come talk to us. We have a venture fund.
Come talk to us. But so that's a really potent combination. It's rare though. It's rare. Not a lot of CTOs actually can be CEOs, and not a lot of CEOs can be CTOs.
It takes a weird person. I'm a very weird person.
It's rare. I'm going to call it rare.
So you come to the boot camp. and you meet Miguel.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so there's more than that. So I came by myself.
Yes.
Miguel came with a business partner for the
I
idea
remember,
that he was
this.
doing.
Yeah.
And
were you in the same cohort?
We were in the same
Okay,
cohort.
okay.
Yep. And it's funny, Aaron from the cohort, we actually employed at Limble for
It took
a
a
little
while for you to get together after meeting each other for a little bit.
Yeah, because Miguel was doing
Another thing.
his other thing, Interact 3D, and that was starting to get a little bit of success, but it wasn't getting as much traction. And then after the boot camp, I don't know, it was like 6 months later, because we were meeting every month or so, catching up.
And also, I think at a reunion too, you guys ran into each other maybe.
Yeah, we ran into each other at the reunions too.
Yeah.
But I pulled him into Limble, maybe it's 12 months after the boot camp, and because we were meeting every couple months to share war stories about growing businesses. And then I was like, hey, mine's actually taking off. Want to come join?
Yeah,
and,
and that was what was awesome.
Sure.
Because I literally mentored Miguel Ramos, who's a great guy,
amazing guy.
One guy. I spent a lot of time with him, and he had 3 in a row of co-founder problems of startups. And I mentored him through them all. And truly, Miguel is incredible.
Amazing human being.
He unfortunately got with just bad fit co-founders.
Yeah.
And those guys are nice guys too. I'm not going to say anything about them, whatever they went on, but just the magic wasn't there. But when you two got together, the magic was there.
Yeah. Miguel's an amazing person. Without him, Limble wouldn't exist. He gave a lot of heart in the company.
Right.
And you guys were like complementary puzzle pieces that fit together.
Yeah. He made me a lot better. I remember him teaching me what a standard operating procedure was. I was like, we don't need these ever. And he's like, no, Bryan, I promise you, we should structure the company some.
And so you guys got together and you decided to pull him in, and he was ready because he had problems with past co-founders. But then you were his fourth co-founder team, and it hit magic. How was the first little while when you got together? Because did it help that you were both trained heavily on the lean startup process and how to be customer development focused?
Yeah. We never had. Well, I mean, we almost never had arguments. Period. But we never had any true disagreements on that. We were all
direction.
Never on direction on any serious thing like customer first, employee first, that type of stuff.
There's about 20 companies formed by 2 people coming in to Startup Ignition. One person finds out their idea sucks or they're not working well with their co-founders. This person's got a better idea, and they come together and form better companies.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted the information, but I also wanted a network because I wanted to find
you were alone.
great people.
Yeah, you were solo.
Yeah, and it at that point, I can't remember how long I'd been coding it because it took 2 years to before I even got a paying customer. It was a lot of time to build these. And I was just like, this kind of sucks, doesn't it?
So how long was it just you and Miguel then?
So Miguel, I think, joined me when the company was about 3 years old, roughly around there. And then Jake joined us next when we were at 100K. And so
are you talking about Jake Westbrook?
Yeah, Jake Westbrook.
Yeah.
Phenomenal man as well.
About 100,000? Yeah. And how old is the company now?
10 years now.
This is what we need.
10 years.
We keep having to teach people through this podcast. Average time to success is 8.2 years, and just starting and we'll tell about your success.
No wonder you're cohort 4. 10 year, Limble CMMS is 10 years old. Holy crap.
It's funny because my twins are 9 years old too. So
I remember you going through it. So you and Miguel get together. And what was that like? Finally founding a co-founder that fit you, and you guys fit each other. And the first few months.
Yeah.
Well, it's a blast.
Yeah.
It's amazing working with someone that's passionate and hardworking and just doing a startup is one of the hardest things, but one of the most rewarding things. Those, especially those early days.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And I love what I'm doing today too.
Yeah.
But in those early days, you get to form really deep, intimate relationships.
I bet you miss those. I miss them.
Yeah, they're great. But I mean, the challenges I'm running into today it's making me grow so much.
Of course.
It's just a different flavor of
it is.
Really good thing.
So in that time with Miguel, it was really product market fit focus, refining the product, talking to customers, validating what your moves and features, and really honing in on the product.
As soon as Miguel joined the product, there was still a lot that needed to be coding. There's still a lot that needed coding in it today. But we had the very beginning of product market fit. It's not MVP and not product market fit, but kind of in between that.
Yeah.
Where I was getting some customers emailing me being like right when they joined, it's like, we've looked at 7 CMMSs, yours the best ever. It's like, that's pretty damn close to product market fit.
Yeah.
Except for there's a lot of different types of customers. So some we were nailing it, but some we weren't. And so we had to expand
That's
the product
such a
to
good
get
lesson.
others.
You just mentioned, I don't want to gloss over it. I tell the story of Tesla. Tesla's first target market was wealthy tech entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. Why is that so important? Because coming out with the first mass electric car like this is going to be a computer that drives and be full of bugs. It's not going to be the best car in terms of ride and suspension and things like that. But the wealthy tech entrepreneur says, I'm driving a computer that drives. Oh yeah, it's a little not smooth ride. Oh, there's bugs that happen. It's not the best car, but and they were the patient ones to allow the company then to figure out the range, the battery, and the range that's needed for the mass market. And that's what every entrepreneur goes through this. You find the customers that will be patient during that early phase.
Yeah, and that's why validation is so important.
Yeah.
Because that helps you know which areas, like who's going to be patient with you, who's willing, and the patience basically being like, there's enough value, in this case, the wealthy tech being able to brag to friends or whatnot to put up with all the
and like for you, it'd be somebody who's got such a pain in what they're doing. They say,
this is worth it.
It's that, but it's also, we found early on, it was like cost conscious. Our first paying customer was $12 a month.
What SaaS can you sell for $12?
Yeah, I remember getting that first customer. It was Saturday morning. I was playing pool, and I was coding. I went to play pool to do a programming challenge or to think through a programming issue. And so that's a programmer trick: step away from the program, do something
fun,
or go for a walk or whatever, and the solution comes to you. And so the guy calls, and I just answer my phone, kind of annoyed because someone's interrupting my thinking. I was like, "Hello." He's like, "Is this Limble?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, this is Limble. I can help you." It was the first time anyone ever called Limble. The guy had no idea that he was the first person to ever call Limble. And so he's like, "Oh, I was trying to sign up for your software, but your website didn't work." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll get my team to fix this right away." And of course, I am the team. Yeah. And anyways, I run to my computer, I set him up, and spend the next 6 hours getting him going. The entire time, there's butterflies in my stomach. It's like, he's going to find out that we're not a real company in a moment. But he loved the software, and we got to the end, and he was fully set up, and he's like, "Okay, I'll put my credit card in."
And you're like, $12 a month?
Classic story.
And I was running around the house. It was like, this point, it was, I don't know, maybe like 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday, screaming and
whooping and hollering. Like, got $12.
Whooping and hollering. My ex-wife thought it was insane. Yeah. She's like, "What happened? What happened?" I was like, "I got one." There's someone they have
We're
no
mentoring
idea.
companies right now, talking to big customers, and some of these big customers have no idea it's only 3 people.
It's wild. And our website gave the impression that we were way bigger, way more established.
You have to.
Yeah.
So take us from you and Miguel figuring things out those first few months all the way through today. We just want to listen to the story. Tell the story.
Now tell us the growth. And
So Miguel joined me, then Jake joined me, and then I have another co-founder who's absolutely amazing, Jeff Babb. He joined, and as the revenue got higher, it just kept bringing in the core team. And then very quickly, it's like, okay, I actually have to hire people. Yeah. Like, we actually have a company. Holy shit. Like, that was the dream. I didn't think it was actually going to happen, but sure enough, it did. And then 1 employee became 2, and then 3, and then 4, and we just really started accelerating. And it goes back to the proper validation and spending the time to build it the right way for customers.
And all the systems and all the different departments and the processes that are developed
all that has
there.
to get rebuilt 1,000 times. Yeah. You're always rebuilding systems. The general rule is every time you double the company, you have to rebuild everything. Yeah. And that's basically true.
So where are you at today? This
is many years. So like take us through the revenue numbers if you feel comfortable, and the growth up and the number of employees and stuff like that.
So about 6 years ago, maybe 5.5 years ago is when we really actually started getting some traction. 4 years ago, we were at about 2.6 million ARR, and that's when we raised our Series A. So that was one of the next big milestones. We bootstrapped to that. And then
you bootstrapped to 2.6 million ARR.
Yep. And so just blood, sweat,
it can be done, everybody.
Yeah, it can. And we could have gone farther, honestly.
Yeah, and you actually gave a big chunk of the money you raised to buy out your father.
Yeah. So a lot of that. So at that point in time, there was tons of investors reaching out. They're just knocking down the door. And I was like, we're not interested. We're not doing anything.
You didn't need
really
money. You didn't want money.
No. We just grew off what our customers paid us. And we were growing really fast. So we're like, this is fine. We'll just keep doing this. And then one of the potential investors was just like, hey, well, what if I just send you a term sheet and send you a number? And I was like, sure. And that kind of opened Pandora's box.
Super cold. Like it was just like, hey, I'll just send you my idea.
Before.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty cold, or maybe twice before.
Yeah.
So got that, and I was like, oh shit, there's actual real money here. And I'm not the only owner here. Like I have a fiduciary responsibility to
tell the others.
Tell the others. And I went to them and I was like, well, first and foremost, we have to do what's best for the company, what's best for the customers. We will not raise money that hurts the company or customers.
Or just to have money.
Just to have money. It's like, sorry, Dad won't retire you. Like you got to keep working. It's but luckily because we had built a really good company and we were doing things the right way, there was a lot of investors, a lot of potential investors. And so we were able to meet some absolutely amazing people, and we ended up partnering with Elephant and Album. Album's actually a local, you guys know Album.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love working with them. They're amazing people. But because we just had done it the right way, and we didn't need to raise money, and we were built a solid company, we were able to pick the best of the best.
Yeah. If you want to get the best investor deal, don't need the money.
You never want to raise money when you need money.
I think that's the biggest thing a lot of entrepreneurs get backwards a little bit is like when you're in a position that you want money, it's when it's the hardest to come by. And when you're in a position where you don't need any money, it's the easiest to come by because people want a piece of what's working well, right? So build good companies, and fundraising will honestly come on its own.
Yeah, I've never had to reach out to an investor.
So
they've all came to me or introduce. Nowadays, it's a lot of investors introducing investors.
Right.
I don't know how public the numbers are because I'm aware of them, but so that first round, I know the size of it. A good chunk of it went to buy out your father's position. Is that okay? Because you already mentioned that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got some working capital, pretty good working capital for a software company,
bit.
but not much working capital, right?
No,
you actually had some chips off the table for some early in.
Yep, everyone, all the early people took a little bit off. We made sure that on every round someone
which we call it when you take chips off the table like that, we call it a carve out. So you guys had, but that round had significant carve out.
So the Series A had the highest percent of the carve out, and as we've gotten later, the
less and less carve out
changed.
Percentage wise.
Yeah.
So have you raised since that A then? And can you share that with us?
Our next partner is Goldman Sachs, which is an interesting story. I'm naive and I heard of them, but I didn't really. Goldman Sachs.
What's Goldman Sachs?
Brian now knows who Goldman Sachs is.
So my VP of Finance at that point in time, who I'm very lucky to work with, she's actually my sister. Goldman Sachs was reaching out, and I was like, I don't know if I want to meet anyone. And she was like, no, we need to go see this. And I was like, okay, all right, fine.
So Goldman Sachs reached out to you.
Yeah, they said they're going to be in Utah. They really want to meet. They have a presentation they want to walk through, and so they flew out a team of 3 and went to Harvest at Thanksgiving Point, and then they brought out this 75-page PowerPoint, 4 customer intros, all this other stuff. I was like, okay, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we should actually look at this. And then that popped off the Series
How much after the Elephant investment was this?
That was 2 years. So Elephant was 4 years ago. Goldman was 2 years ago.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And we were at about 17 at that point.
17 million?
Yeah, roughly 16, 17, somewhere around there, depending on when it's
incredible business.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of growth from there to there. Today, I won't say the exact number, but it's over double.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great. And so, and the Goldman Sachs run was large at a large valuation.
Yeah, it was a really good valuation, especially at that point in time 2 years ago. It was one of the worst times.
Fundraising.
You closed that in 2023. Which was a tough year for most venture.
It was a tough.
Guess what? Success is always popular.
Yeah, I mean, if you're growing and you take care of your customers and you're doing the right things, building a business with strong fundamentals.
And by the way, this is must-have software. You have to maintain big equipment in big companies, big organizations, big corporations.
So I'll never forget when COVID hit, and we have a bunch of casinos, and casinos, their entire revenue obviously disappeared when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And they furloughed people, but they kept Limble.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh shit. Like, this is
You are
sticky
necessary.
software.
Yeah.
Guess what?
You know?
Yeah, you don't leave HVAC running for 2 years, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. So it's, and sure, we saw a little bit of contraction, but I mean, these systems are super critical.
So, what do you attribute that growth to? Because those numbers are pretty crazy, right? You're at 2.6. The Goldman Sachs round, you're at 17. Today, you're over double that. You've already said all those numbers. That's why I'm repeating them. Mm-hmm. What is like the one thing that comes to mind that's like building that kind of revenue?
It's not just one thing.
So what's the
find
three?
the right people, set the right culture, get the right partners, talk to your customers all the time, put them first.
And you have to have a Bugatti product. Yeah, I mean a really good product. Is your SaaS software state of the art great software? Yes or no?
It's extremely good, but some of the original code, I wrote 10 years ago. So some stuff we do have to recode.
Yeah.
And
but I'm just saying, now, when a customer sits down and uses it, they go, "Wow, this is great."
Yes.
That's what the value. That's at the core too. I mean, I'm all about don't be product focused. Be customer focused at the beginning. You have to be, right. But at some point, you also have to say, I have to have a quality product.
You're saying build a product that basically sells itself, which it sounds like Limble really has
in
done
a lot of
really
ways,
well, right? But at the same time, you're saying there's a lot of factors that go into that. But can you summarize it in that way? Would you agree to what he's saying? Like build a product and it will sell itself? Statement.
Jake, who we all talked about, we all know Westbrook.
Yeah, amazing guy.
Incredible revenue generator. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, but he could not do that if your product sucked.
Oh, 100%. Some people hate selling horrible products.
And he could not do that if your product was mediocre.
Yeah.
It has to be one of the best in the industry.
Hold on, I want Bryan to check off on this statement. Is that what you would wrap it up into? Does that encompass everything?
He listed a bunch of stuff. I was just adding.
I know, but I just
there are stories of companies that don't have that great of a product that still have success.
Yeah.
It's like a medium, and they don't have anywhere near the level that they could.
Yes, one of them is Microsoft. Microsoft's famous for it's not till version 3 that their product's great. Yeah. Okay, but what they do is they go in on version 1 and 2, and they have everything you listed down, put together, and they're constantly improving their product.
Yep.
And it's kind of a joke. I came from Seattle. It was a joke. Yeah, that's right. Version 3, like when Windows 1.0 came out, it sucked.
Yeah.
Okay. But Windows 3.0 would change the world.
Yeah, but I want to be careful for anyone listening, because there's also a trap that entrepreneurs fall into where it's like, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's like, well, hold on. No. Like, it's got to be a great product, but also the MVP
100%
can completely suck, just as long as it delivers enough value. That's why it's minimal viable product, right? Is like, you have to deliver just enough. The rest can suck. Then you iterate and improve.
Does it improve the task of what your customer is trying to do is the question,
Do you actually solve a problem? Do you provide a solution and it gets the job done?
Yeah, right.
Well, this is why at the beginning I walked around and asked people, like, what do you hate about your life? Yeah. What are your problems, right? Yeah. It wasn't like,
let me solve that for you.
Yeah, I didn't ask them, it's like, what do you need? It was like, tell me a problem.
Yeah.
Because
and then you devise the solution. And
so I'm the architect. I'm software engineering, all of that. The customers aren't going to design the software. Yeah. But they'll tell me the problems, and then I can use them to validate the solution where is that problem now solved? And they go, oh yeah, it's solved. Great.
Yeah. Well, Bryan, I just want to say, because I want to come back and cover some things, but now you've taken us through the story where you're at today, and what you're doing. I just want to pay you a compliment, and it's been one of the great pleasures of my mentoring career. And I've been a longtime mentor of entrepreneurs, and we've had a great relationship. But I just want to say, literally, it's been such a pleasure to watch the full arc of you to go from where you were at to where you're at now. And also just, it's been, I mean, it works.
Like
and I want to inspire.
He's getting emotional here.
No, I want to inspire other entrepreneurs to know, like, I don't know if you remember, one of the things I like to say in my boot camp is I look you square in the eye and say, you're no different than the other people I've mentored that are now highly successful gazillionaires that have put products and service in the market that have changed the world. You're no different. And now here we are 9 years later from when we might have first met. And now you're in that seat. Does that make sense? And it really can happen. So what would you say to viewers and listeners? Can it happen to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so one of our core values at our company is just attitude. And a lot of the time people ask me, it's like, well, okay, Bryan, how did you do it? And I just joke, well, I was delusional.
Yeah.
And
Or as the kids say,
true.
delulu.
You just got to believe that you can. And then, you know, you just keep working until eventually it happens. Like my first paying customer was 2.5 years after starting.
Let me point out something really important. You didn't finish college. You said you dropped out of college, right? Let me make this statement. I've said this so many times past, but this is something. I work with undergraduate students or people that don't finish college, and I tell them, you can do it. You're no different than everybody else. And they go, oh, I can? And they just go do it.
And they go do it.
Here's a problem I have. Too much education on too much corporate business. Like sometimes hiring a company in the early days, and what you would, if you hired too much of a corporate person, they can't come in and do it.
Oh yeah,
right?
There's a whole topic there.
That's a whole topic, right?
Bans and executive
like let's take MBA programs. MBA is great. All of you out there, MBA. But I'm telling you, MBA programs
will beat the entrepreneur out of you.
Will beat the entrepreneur out of you. And what it is it makes you more risk averse.
Yeah.
It makes you hypercritical of why things won't work, but you just believed you could do it and it would work, and you went and did it, which is what's amazing. And you got then some great team members, 3 or 4 humans pulling in the same direction. Can make incredible startups.
I do have a question. When you were finding and doing that problem hunting, did you set like parameters or attributes around a problem? Like, I want something that's in a big market, or I want to do something in software. Like, did you set something that was like specific to what you were looking for? It needed
to be software.
Yeah, because you were technical.
Because you know, I'm a software engineer.
Yeah.
So it needed to be in software. It had to be a really big pain and problem, so that the person had to be like just really frustrated,
like hair on fire.
Yeah. And then the other ironic thing is there had to be some search traffic, and that's like a search traffic. It was like, well, I also have, you know, content marketing background, so I'm going to play to my skill. I know how to rank in the search engines, and so that's going to be my first go-to-market motion.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure that there was some go-to-market motion fleshed out, because I didn't want to just be cold calling nonstop to try and get the first customers.
Yeah,
and so
you wanted some like word of mouth or like just search engine or just happenstance
like,
sales.
Is there traffic for preventative maintenance, or is there traffic? And when I came across this and found out that there is actually a category here, I was like, awesome. I don't have to educate the market.
Yeah.
And the previous company, the pharmacy compliance one, that's where I learned a lesson. Is like I had to educate the market, and I was like, this is expensive.
That's a good point.
And it's a huge,
really good point.
So I narrowed the problem down to that. I had to make sure that I saw as like, how can I acquire the first customer without it being a super manual action of like cold calling, because that's very time intensive and expensive to do.
Yeah. So what's interesting, again, for the viewers and listeners to understand, a lot of boring industries, and I'm not saying boring.
No, maintenance can be. I mean, I love it. It's it's amazing.
You think it's sexy.
Some people look at it
big
like,
heating, ventilating, air conditioning units and maintenance on units. That sounds boring, but it's not, is it?
It's not. You walk through these manufacturing plants where you're seeing robotic arms,
and none of that,
trucks, and all sorts of shit. It's like, oh wow.
But you didn't manufacture those equipment. You went and said, I'm going to create a software to make this industry better.
Yeah.
And you fixed and made something faster, better, cheaper for all your customers. That's what's exciting. And you created an immense value housed in a SaaS platform that also the world, including the venture community, but the world, view the founders of those as heroes. They get very well compensated for exit value on your companies that you build, because you're a highly profitable software company. And that's just what's exciting to see happen. So let's come back to a financial question. I know a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are going to ask, because my best investments are just like you, ones that bootstrap to multi-million in revenue. A lot of people have to say, you can't be done. I've got to go raise venture money. And they often think venture money is the end in all of so how did you bootstrap to 2.6 million? How did you do
sweat
it?
and tears.
But just like, seriously, go down the story. How did you do it?
So first and foremost, I am very lucky with my dad, where he was like, okay, you don't have to quit your full-time job. Just take care of your work responsibilities. So I was able to do, a normal 8 to 10 hour.
But a lot of people out there have a dad who could give them a little bit of money to not have to work and tinker on something. But how do you get to 2.6 million infers a lot of customers paying you with employees, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So and I guess it depends on which stage. So first at the very beginning, it was through my dad's support. And I just made sure I was working like 12, 14 hour days. And I mean, I honestly worked 12, 14 hour days for a very long time. Even now I do a lot of
So
those.
you can't play Halo like 8 hours a day. Okay.
No. I do play video games with my sons because they love it, and I love my sons. So
But my point is, I meet a lot of young entrepreneurs, and I just call it like it is, and I find out how they're using their time. They think if they, sit at a cubicle in their apartment choosing colors for a logo for 2 hours a day, that's entrepreneurship, right? It's not, right?
Not at all. Not at all. You have to find problems to solve. That's entrepreneurship,
right?
But I mean, how you do it, it's like you just find ways to live very cheaply. There's all sorts of ways to not spend money. Find family support.
How long until you brought someone else in to do the actual physical coding? Like how long did
like 4 years ago, maybe 4.5 years ago.
4.5 years ago, you were literally tackling all
right,
the
right as you hit your inflection point, right?
So this is another thing. So like entrepreneur that isn't tech, that's only business, or like I can't pay someone to come do this.
Yeah.
And I had that benefit. It's like, I know how to do it.
That's what I'm saying. Is
because you were that rare breed of CEOs.
One of the biggest expenses in a SaaS company is building the actual product.
But that and go to market, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew both of those.
So having a founder
interview people.
Having a founder, okay, I just want to hit something home. Having a founder that doesn't need a market rate salary that can code the product if you're a software company is also gives you an edge. Correct.
It does. You have to, but you also have to find a really good tech person.
Yeah,
because you could find a
you were
founder.
your own, but you could also have had if you were just a business guy, you could have had a co-founder that's a great fit and it would work too.
Go find a fresh graduate that's hungry.
You know about
hungry.
4Up. You met the people. Okay, 4Up had 3 founders, 2 business guys and 1 tech guy. He was a tech guy that did it, and they were all taking peanuts, right?
Yeah.
And it works then. But if they all have to take market rate salaries,
no, you can't get market rate salaries.
Yeah.
One of the icebreaker questions is like salary or equity. It's like, well, you kind of get a pick. If you want equity and salary, that doesn't really work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like unless you join a super later stage company and then you have to spend 20 years, 30 years becoming like a C-suite, and then even then C-suites are like 0.5%, 1% like type equity. Unless you become a CEO, but guess what? Like no one would have hired me as a CEO. I had to build my own company. Now, as people maybe would.
Bryan, I've done. I want to see
hard.
30 seconds. I have done straw polling my entire mentorship investing career, and I have tracked companies. And I said, I have never found one company that in the first 18 months where the founders took anywhere close to a market rate salary that it ended with a great exit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I have found countless ones where in the first 18 months the founders took no salary and had or very, very little and had incredible outcomes.
Yeah, I think
does that do you believe that?
Yeah, I mean starvation's important. You got to be hungry and you got to be ambitious.
To summarize though, is frugality really the key to bootstrapping? Would you say that's what it is?
I mean it's most definitely
a key part.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a catch-22 because I come across these founders that say, "Oh, it takes money to make money," but that's just not true.
You can succeed both ways. I've seen founders raise money and then they go on big success, but their death rate, their failure rate is significantly higher.
The catch-22 is that okay, you go raise money, but then you squander the money anyways. Like
a lot of people do that.
If you go and raise $1 million, $2 million right out the gate, I guarantee you waste 80% of that check.
A lot of people do that.
Agreed, right? So it's like, okay, so it's either force yourself to be more financially disciplined, which is really hard, or just don't take the money and bootstrap.
And let's point out, it depends on the product, the market, the space.
Yeah, it does.
But let's point out, this is an important principle that, Tyler and you were bringing up on saying that they squander it. If they literally, you go out and raise this money and they don't know what to do with it, all that. The bottom line is this: you, by being lean and what you did and built it, you transferred the raising of capital from actually the venture investment realm to growth capital. Mm-hmm. You never really raised venture. I'm going to be honest with you.
It was more growth.
Yeah. And people need to understand this, and I'll say it more clearly now. Venture capital is very expensive. So you should take as little of it as possible.
Yeah.
And only when you need it. Growth capital is much less expensive and distinctly goes into a system where your CAC and your LTV, your customer acquisition cost and LTV, and for every dollar you put in, what you're going to get out of it.
Yep.
So growth capital is less expensive. The growth investors make less overall return compared to venture
I
investors.
do think the viewers and listeners need to know the difference between that venture capital and that growth capital, because venture capital is the early stage capital that is super expensive.
And you should only take it when you need it and in as small amounts as you need it. That's what principles we teach. But what you did, you bootstrapped so well, you actually skipped venture and went into growth capital. And even though there's a fuzzy line there, I would argue that you didn't need to take it.
Yeah.
You could have survived without. You might not have grown quite as fast, but that's why it was growth capital.
Well, I took Series A because, like, as you get bigger, it's a lot harder to undo decisions.
Yes.
Like the bigger your company is, the harder it is to course correct.
Exactly.
And I also wanted to get a really good network of, like, I knew I was going to be hiring execs. I knew that there's so many different things that investors.
Let me tell you, if you would have taken $2 million out of the chute, you would have made decisions that got the concrete would have hardened around. You might might not be where you are today.
100%.
But I want that to be stop punchline on that. If you would have taken $1 to $2 million out of the chute, you would not be where you're at today, because you took time to really figure out product market fit and also how to be an entrepreneur running a company that could grow like that.
Yeah. As soon as you take money, the
cement
everything.
The cement starts hardening.
Yeah. You have, all of a sudden you have people that that you need to get a return for. And again, like everyone that I've raised from are amazing investors, and they understand customers first.
But they still do impact the company. You want to choose wisely.
They impact the company a huge amount, and it's like getting an investor is like getting married, except you can't divorce them.
So if you marry the wrong person, how's your life?
It's bad, and that's why you be very. And Bootstrapped helps with this. So when you do go raise, like what happened with me, if you have a very successful company, then you're very, very attractive to the potential.
So Bryan, you're speaking such truth. Thank you. Do we need to start wrapping up?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
We got a little bit of time here.
Okay.
So my question about that is, how has it been working with Goldman? And
they're amazing.
They're amazing. Yeah. And they've provided like tons of connections,
customers, tons of resources. The executive hires. So they have a thing called a value accelerator, and they help with tons of stuff.
Everything at the right moment. Goldman's not the one you talk to when you're by yourself coding your first MVP.
No.
And they probably don't have much advice for you at that stage. Right. But and then each one of your people have come in at the right stage. Yep. You did things in the right order, the right cadence.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was honestly kind of luck. Like, I just focused on the customer, and then ironically, the right partner pops up at the right time. Because if you're doing things the right way.
Tyler likes to say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And like he says, a lot of people think he's lucky, but actually it's because he tries really hard at the right times, the right moments.
And put yourself in the right opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So,
I agree with that.
Okay, we're going to end on one thing here. Okay. I have some audience questions, and I think one of them is pretty relevant to you, right? As a founder, this is from our community. We have an online community of people posting questions and stuff. Awesome. So this one is, as a founder, how do you balance the commitment of time between product development or sales or customer acquisition? So like in the early stages of Limble, how did you balance, as the CEO, CTO, like how did you balance that time?
Oh, if you ask my execs today, they're like, Bryan, you do horrible at balancing. What I like to do is try and focus on the weakest link in wherever I can deliver the most value in specific areas. And even, I mean, it changes so much over time. In the early days, because it's more of the audience, it really is just like, are you running into a customer acquisition problem? Or are you running into a product problem?
So if customer acquisition has a problem, focus on it. If product has a problem, focus on it.
Well, you have to keep the baseline across all of them.
Yeah.
And so you make sure that all are running at the like at least not breaking, and then you focus on whichever thing you could get the biggest bang.
Would you agree with this academic answer to that? Like overarching, I like to tell people in a normal situation, like your company in a software startup, about the first 18 months, you need to be super, super focused on customer development that drives then your product development. Yeah. And then at about 18 months, you invert the company from product development into sales development.
Yeah. So
do you agree with that kind of cadence?
Through this lens of going 0 to 1, don't focus on acquisition
at all.
Like just talk to customers to validate, or prospects to validate. Mm-hmm. Don't even worry about selling them until you have something that's like really damn cool. Yeah. And you're that minimal viable product where the bar is they have to be like, whoa, Like if they have that wow
This
moment,
is valuable.
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
and the rest of the product can suck, but that one moment where they're like, "Oh shit!"
What we call the
Then-
wow factor test,
the
if you
wow
remember
factor.
that.
Yeah. And so then at that point, once you get that, then it's like, okay, well, now that I have a wow moment, let's swap and actually get some customers and see how far this wow goes and does it break and all of that.
And as CEO, you will actually go from, you've probably been on a long multi-year transition from product focused to sales focused and revenue focused. Because you're right now, you're dealing with some of the biggest institutions in the world as party to your company, and they're going to want to know how's revenue. Right?
Yeah, there's a different level of pressure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And nowadays it's I mean, we can talk about this some other time, like going from 10 to 30 and then 30 to 50 and 50 to 100.
What was the hardest jump? Let me ask you. I'm going to give you a range of jumps. 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to $1 million, 1 million to 2, 2 to 10, and then going from 10 to 30.
Well, 2 to 10 is a huge jump, but
Yeah, I just want to
We
know.
blew through that. So
Really?
like, we
What
blinked.
was the hardest for you? Okay, again, 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to $1 million, $1 million to $2 million, $2 million to $10 million, then 10 to 30. Which was the hardest?
I mean, I almost want to say 10 to 30 just because it's the most close.
Right, you're doing right now?
And it's
Okay.
like you kind of forget the hard times, only remember the good
But you're there
times.
now. You did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, every single one requires a different skill set.
Okay.
And so,
But looking back, right now,
I know, I'm
which
not
would you
giving you a
not
good
want
answer.
to do again?
I'd do it all again, honestly. So like,
And maybe that's why you're successful.
yeah. Well, so I mean, you got to love what you do, and even you got to love the shitty part of it.
Are the
and
skill
just-
sets different at each stage?
100%.
Yeah, it's,
A billion percent.
here's what
I loved the 0 to 100K and 0 and 100K to 1 million because there was like I like to do. I like to get my
blood and
hands
guts.
dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 10 to 30, a lot of that is how do you find people and empower people, and I've struggled with that to a certain degree,
like the management aspect of it. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot. It's
people.
about
It's
people.
about hiring. Like people are hard, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
I did a lot of really good things with
How many
culture
employees
building
are at
and all
Limble today?
that. 230,
230.
something like
Wow.
that. Yeah, around there.
Yeah. So and so exactly. It's so fun at the early stages and all that.
I love the early
yeah,
stages.
yeah.
I really do love the early
So maybe the question is, which would you repeat again most if you had to choose one? The 100,000 to $1 million. That's a fun time.
See, I bet you anything. If for some reason like I stopped today, which I'm going to do this for a very long time,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Limble's my life, and I love
Yeah.
what I'm doing, and there's like I'm going to keep going for a long time.
Yeah.
But if let's say something blows up tomorrow, or I don't know, and if I have to restart, I probably in the 0-1 be like, oh, I missed the 10 to 30, and so it's just like there's it's all fun, but when you're in the thick of it, it's also like, holy shit, this is hard.
Yeah.
Why am I doing
Yeah.
this?
That's always there.
Yeah, and if you don't like doing hard things and you prefer playing Halo, entrepreneurship is not for you.
Exactly.
And you have to realize that,
Well-
or you have to enjoy that pain and that suffering and the rewards from it.
I was going to say, there's a reason why you get rewarded for it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
a lot
very
of
few
people
people
do
can do it.
not want that job, right?
Do you remember a quote I told you? One of my mentors said to me once: "Work a few years like no one else will.
Yeah.
Live the rest of your life like no one else can."
Yeah.
And you've now seen that come true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, theoretically I could retire tomorrow and never have to worry about anything again.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm not going to do that, but it's kind of cool.
And that's
I can.
again because of who you are. This is
yeah.
what a great interview.
Yeah, this has been awesome to
Oh
catch
my
up. So
gosh.
I think that's a perfect place to cut the episode. Bryan, thank you so much. Your journey, your insights, your tips. I'm sure there's a lot of ways people can reach you, and I'm sure a lot of listeners, if they're wanting to reach out, we can connect you to Bryan. I don't want to offer that. But you're an
happy to
awesome
talk.
resource.
Yeah, I love talking to entrepreneurs. If you're starting an idea, I'm more than happy to talk. And,
Yeah.
and-
You're just an all-around sharp dude and also just a good guy.
Yeah,
So-
thanks for not only your friendship, but just being such a good inspiration. I hope that the entrepreneurs watching this know they can do it too, but they have to pay the price.
Yeah.
They do, but it's worth it.
Yep.
It's worth it.
Yeah, 100% worth
it. Yep.
Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, leave a comment, follow, do all the things. We are very appreciative of you guys watching and listening, but we are out. Thank you so much, Bryan.
Anytime.